All right, fellas, Sean Donohue is here today. I'm thrilled about this conversation for many reasons. But one is that Sean is an expert in the parenting of teens space. And I've got a 14-year-old, a 9-year-old who acts like he's 14 at times.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled to be in this conversation personally. And I know that many of you will enjoy the stories and the strategies. I'm so grateful that I stumbled upon Sean's work. When you go look at his Instagram, when you look at some of the content that he's putting out, it's relevant, it is on point. He speaks from his heart, and it also brings, what I love is brings this real element to it, of like a real dude who's really doing life. It's not this
Yeah.
made up, in theory, here's what I think about parenting. It's like, here's what's actually happening. This is what's happened over the years. You have 3 girls, right, Sean?
Yeah, man. My oldest is about to turn 19 and I got 14 and 7. And so, yeah, I've been raising babies for a long time. And my wife, Danielle, we're about to do 20 years together. So thanks for having me, John.
Dude, I'm 17 years with Tatiana. And what I was
Okay.
just about to say is that I'm getting to that point where people hear that number and they're really impressed. Like,
It's really like, yeah, I mean, I've just been thinking about it a lot the last few months because I mean, marriage is such hard work. I mean, we've been through the trenches together, so many
yes.
ups and downs. So yeah, the older I get, the more I want to celebrate these anniversaries. It's like, yes, we did it, another year. We're loving each other, we're learning, we're growing, we're figuring this whole thing out. It's like it's celebration.
Dude, 2 months ago, I think we're going to get divorced. And 2 days ago, we have literally one of the best nights of our life together.
Yeah.
That's been my experience
Oh yeah.
for the last
Okay. Yeah.
17 years.
Uh-huh.
And the truth is that, and I talk about it openly with the guys here, and part of
Yeah.
me doesn't want to say it because it makes me sound crazy. It feels like
Right.
to be on such a roller coaster of highs and lows.
So
But I'm also
common.
realizing that a lot of that dynamic comes because we don't hide shit. We don't
Yeah.
push
Yeah.
everything down. Like
Yeah.
we
So
actually
true.
talk about things,
Oh my
and
gosh. So
not
many
always
men.
pleasant.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. So many men today, more than anyone. It's like they just live in a cave. They just live in a shield of secrecy and no one to talk to. And I have, I've got these, many men in my life who are my clients. And they sometimes say to me, Sean, you're like the only one that I can talk to. And I feel honored to feel that, to receive that. Like, I want more for them. Like part of what I
Yes.
do is like, I want to teach you how to talk and how to connect and how to lead and how to guide, but I want to teach you how to talk and connect with other men and find a community, find your guys and find your passions for life. So yeah, man, I mean, it's just like you, man, 20 years of ups and downs and stories and memories and family drama and dark family drama. And now we're on your podcast. Let's talk. Yes.
Yeah. And guys, if you wanted to go check out Sean's work, parentingmodernteens.com is the site. He also has a killer podcast, which if you're listening to this, chances are you want to listen to that, the Sean Donohue Show. Check it out. And we'll talk more about where to go get connected as we get to the end and as you've learned more about Sean's life. But let's do exactly that, Sean. Let's talk about your life. And I want to go back and talk about your childhood for a moment, because I think
Yeah.
that I do this for 2 reasons. One, I think it's cool
Right.
for people to get to know your heart, like the young
Okay.
Sean, the young
Uh-huh.
Sean. But also, I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
tells us a lot about your experience on the other side of this coin as a child, right? So my first question to you is, how was your father
Hmm.
a warning and or an example for you?
Ooh, yeah. I think that the fields of business that we go into, I think it really says a lot about us if we just slow down and we wonder, like, why do we pick this field? And like, why would I'm a 45-year-old man. I love NFL football. I love tacos. I love backpacking. I drive a truck. Like, why would I, pick a field like of parenting? Like, I don't know if you remember the TV show, The Super Nanny, by any chance,
Yeah,
John. Remember that
100%. Yeah.
show? Yeah. So I'm 45. So I liked it. I started when I started watching that show like 18 years ago. My daughter was like 1 or 2. I watched that show. And this woman was wearing this purple power suit, and I was like, this thing just came over me. This calling, this like purpose. And I turned to my wife. I said, that's like what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, Danielle. Like I'm supposed to be like in this parenting space. And so, but it totally relates to that story then, but it does relate to my childhood. So
But
thank you
also
for
because
asking
in
me.
that
Yeah.
moment, were you getting crushed or were you crushing it? When you had that
Oh
revelation,
my gosh. Oh, come on, man. I was a young dad. Oh my gosh. I was floundering in life and marriage. I knew nothing about nothing. And I thought I was the smartest guy in the room. Oh my gosh. I was not crushing it. I was like, that's not the whole story, right? That's not the whole conversation. The conversation also included, I'm going to have to grow up first. I'm going to have to learn about everything I know about, family and child psychology, parenting dynamics. I got to figure out business. I got to figure this out. And so, yes, it's been a journey, that's for sure, to where I was to now sitting here with you on this fancy podcast, man.
yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. Back to your
No, no,
childhood.
no. Yeah, I think my dad growing up in we were in LA in Northern California up until age 11 was just such a wonderful dad and just very present in my life, coaching me in my football, my soccer. It's just so much helping me with my paper route. And then when my parents split at age 11, soon after that, my mother remarried, and they said, Sean, you got to make a choice. Who are you going to live with? You're going to live with your dad up here in Northern California, are going to move with your mom and to your new stepdad, who you barely know, down to San Diego.
Oh.
And that's just a huge responsibility to put like on a 12-year-old as long as my two sisters. And so for me, it felt like it was right for me to stay with my mom. And so moved to San Diego. And what's really, unfortunate is that my dad didn't come down to visit me one time in San Diego. He was a nice guy. I would drive up and I'd see him once or twice a year. We'd go camping together and I would enjoy my new stepmom and my step siblings. And, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't really know, like as a young man, just, playing sports and just living my life, watching MTV and figuring out, you don't really know, what you don't have. And so I remember just talking to a friend, John, and this friend asked me, what are you going to do with your life, Sean? Like, what are your dreams? Like, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I remember vividly saying, I don't know. And I don't really care. I do not know. And I do not care. I'll do anything. I just know one thing. I want to have family and I want to be a dad and I want to be a great dad. And I even said it. I'm just like giving shiverings. Remember, I can vision it right now. I'm going to be a dad one day and I'm going to be laying on the ground. It's going to be Christmas morning. I'm going to have my kid there, maybe one, maybe two, three or four, probably two or three. And I'm just going to look at those child and I'm like, I did it. Like my dream just came true. Like I'm a dad and I have a family and I have a hot freaking wife. And like, I did it. Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like we did it. And my dad is still alive and I want to always honor him when I talk about him on different avenues. But yeah, I didn't learn many things. He wasn't really my emotion coach. He didn't really mentor me. He gave me some great tips, but the man that I am today has to do with books and other men into my life, man. Yeah, that's what I think about that.
I appreciate that honesty. And it's difficult at times to talk about our living parents in a way that we're being honest and honoring them. I recognize that struggle because I've talked about my dad as well, 27 years in the military, very disciplined guy. So many things that I love about my dad. I could talk about why he's so great. I could also talk about the times where I didn't feel great about how he parented. I could give example after example. And so I've always strived to be honest and respectful at the same time. And he's apologized to me for not being more present in my life. I know he's aware of these things that were obviously struggles for me. But there's definitely things that I do differently as a result of him doing them a certain way. There were warnings, I'm probably a lot looser and a lot more mellow with my kids because he was pretty strict.
Yeah.
But when he talks about his dad was way more strict than he was.
Right. Yeah, man. So he maybe came a long way. I think about my own,
right.
I think about my granddad, right? My dad's dad. If you can compare, like, how do we compare these dads? Like, here's a personal question. May I ask you like one?
Yeah, anything you want.
You said, because you know I could, like, So now here you are, you're in a space where you're, mentoring men, mentoring dads, mentoring business owners, guiding them. So tell me, tell me like a story or a moment in your childhood or your past that like something painful or something profound that kind of was a key part to you one day being like, you know what, I'm going to start like a men's podcast. I'm going to start a men's
Yeah.
membership. Like, you got a quick story or something? What comes to mind when I
Yeah.
ask you that?
Well, I'll tell you what comes to mind, and it may not be the story that best answers that question. If
Yeah.
I sat with that longer, there might be one that comes to me. But I'll
Okay.
tell you what I think is very relevant to this. And we get to give the meaning, right? We get to connect the dots the way that we want to. And here's what it was. I shared this one other time, but I don't remember when or where I shared it. So this is not a regular story.
Okay.
Here's what happened. When I was young, I was 8-ish years old. My dad came home from work every day at the same time, and he would walk through the door. It was so predictable, like 6:59, the garage door would go up, and he would walk in with his briefcase and oftentimes in a military uniform,
Okay.
an officer's uniform, and his khakis, his brown, button down,
Uh-huh.
pins, medals, the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
And he would walk in. Well, this time I decided I was going to scare him. I hid under the desk that was,
Mm.
right next to the garage door. I remember
Okay.
exactly where it was when I was,
Yeah.
I'm looking back.
Yeah.
He walked in, I jumped out, and I scared the shit out of him.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
he didn't respond well to that.
Sure. Sure.
Now, as a grown man, I can understand if you've had a day where you're putting out fires and you're stressed and somebody
Yeah.
scares you, then you immediately like want to put your fists up to fight. And not that that's what he did, but he responded with anger in that moment.
Okay.
Is what
Yeah.
I remember. Okay, whether that's
Yeah.
actually what happened, that's my
Yeah.
memory.
Right. Yep.
Well, I remember making an agreement very early on, Sean, that first of all, I was very cautious around my dad. So I shrunk in that moment. I kind of got right.
Yeah.
When here's how this affects me as an adult. When I was a new dad, and I think you can relate to this based on what I've learned about you and what I've read about you.
Yeah.
First of all, I am a very nice person. Like genuinely in my heart, very nice person.
Okay.
When no one's looking, I'm a really nice person, right?
Yeah.
It's who I am. I've also been very angry, very angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I would fly off, like I would be super nice. People even said to me this weekend, I was at a party, they're like, I can never see you being angry, because I confess that I get angry.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that I struggled with was emotional intelligence, right? As a person, like managing my emotions, managing my triggers, like where is it coming from? What am I afraid of? All of this. Well, dude, I did some healing work as an adult that I then went back to understand as a child that a lot of this reactivity that I had began with that story or in that period of life. I did the healing work on that.
Right.
I did work on that as a grown man in my 40s. I'm 48 now.
Yep.
And dude, I was at the beach with my then 8-year-old son.
Yeah.
I was meditating and he came up behind me and he scared me. And dude, I turned around and I smiled at him and I grabbed him and I held him.
Yes.
And I realized in that moment why I want to do this work, why I want to lead men, is because I first had to learn to lead myself. I first had to learn how that healing worked. And then now that I'm in it, I'm doing it. I'm so excited to share this with other guys. I want other men to have access to the same tools. I want them to hear these stories. I want to be talking about these things because what I knew about my dad was that he didn't have a men's group. He had men in the military, but most of his men, he would tell you, they get together and they would have a beer and they would laugh and they would tell stories, but they didn't have what we have with facilitated dialogue and deep work and, access to the things that you have in your coaching program and what you're teaching men. Like, that's what I want, is for other people to have what I got.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Great answer. Great story. And, thanks for sharing that. That's wonderful. Yeah. Like, just to build off even what you said, just to kind of say the same thing in a different way, for many of us, not everybody, parenting is the most emotional thing that we'll ever do. It's more emotional than love, romance, more emotional than even business, because, these kids, they, they're a part of us. Like they either came out of our bodies, or, we put them in someone's body, or we adopt them out of some bodies. And it's like, it's just our honor, our privilege to raising them, to teaching them, to guiding them. And they bring up our greatest fears. They bring up our unhealed traumas. They bring up how we want to share our values in them and teach them integrity and morals and grit. And when we realize that they are not like us, they are not little bonsai trees that we can snip, they are like their own creatures. They are different than us. And it's hard. It's hard to accept. It's hard. It's challenging. It's emotional. It's scary. And then all these emotions hit, and it's what we do in that moment right there. It's what we do in that moment, which makes all the difference. And you, in that moment, you turned with a smile and a hug. And that's a great story, man.
And dude, that's because I've done the opposite of that so many times. I've messed that up. And even recently, even after that moment, I still get angry. Dude, I get angry when, Ocean's not moving fast enough to go to school. He's my 9-year-old now, right?
Okay.
I get angry when I've told Tiger, who's homeschooling, to send me a screenshot of his calendar at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and he won't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I get angry. I do. I feel I'm good for a while, and then eventually it builds, and then I get scared, because I'm scared that ultimately I can't get through to him. I can't do a good job as a dad. And then I get scared, and that turns in anger.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk about this for a minute, Sean. I want to talk about your relationship to anger. I want to talk about walk me through that a little bit. Maybe there's a story in your life. Maybe there was a moment
tons of stories.
So angry that you're like, something's got to change. Or maybe you can talk to me about one of the tools or some of the tools that you've learned over the years.
Yeah. That's that's kind of a simple way of even understanding what I do, because most parents have never had like parent coaching before, or like even watched parent coaching videos or read a book on parenting. Most people have never done that. So when I first started making parenting videos, this was a long time ago, or even called myself a parent coach, like no one even heard that term before. It's like, what is that? I even friends being like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, what are you talking about? So I mean,
what year was that, by the way? When did it start?
Well, I started over a decade ago, 11 years ago. I started this kind of firm, and I started making videos that nobody watched, and they sucked. And so, I think for me, what my journey, the short version, is that what worked for me growing up as a young man is to avoid my feelings, to stuff them, and to play video games, to listen to punk rock music, to listen to 90s hip hop, and to say, hey, Sean, how you doing? And the answer would be, I'm good. Because why I can know now, looking back, not only did I not have the tools, because nobody ever taught me these tools and how to be a man, how to share my feelings. What is it mean to like really comfort somebody? What does it mean to really connect, to be vulnerable? Like, parents are teachers, and every home's a school. And so my parents did the best they could, but I didn't walk away with many of these valuable lessons. What I learned is that worked for me is that, I can just stuff it, and I'm good, and I'm fine. And when you're kind of growing up in like alpha male culture, as a young person, it's pretty easy to thrive in that. You work, you go to school, you succeed at different things you set your mind to, you do, extreme sports. And so that was my long memories of anger had to do with, I'm good. I don't have any angry. Let me tell you a joke and let me make you laugh. That's how I like to deal with anger for a long time, man. A long time. That's how I dealt with it.
Dude, I got to tell you that I've thought to myself as an adult now in my 40s, who maybe I've been the most angry in my 40s that I've ever been. It's am I getting angry? Am I like becoming a grumpy old man?
Right. Yeah.
And then I think, I think it's always been there. I just think I haven't been really honest with myself.
Yeah.
I think I did the same thing. I think I was great at laughing it off, making a joke, stuffing it down, ignoring it. Like I was a silver linings expert.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful, except it was always there under the surface. And I was just great at masking it, sometimes with alcohol, sometimes with, like you said, like ultra marathons, giving. How busy can I be so I don't have to feel anything other than the next task?
Yeah. Let me speak to that for a second, because like, this is one of the joys and one of the beauties of like family life, is like it brings out so much in you And you get to make a choice. What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with all of these emotions, this rage, this disappointment? What are you going to do when you find out your kid doesn't work as hard as you want them to work, that they're not like you, that they're different than you? What are you going to do? Like right now, one thing that's really pissing me off is, you know what I do? I spend a lot of time freaking with my recycle bin, man. Like I have a ton of freaking cardboard in my house, man. The Amazon boxes are coming in and nobody ever talks about this. I honestly, no one ever talked. I've never talked about this. Like I spend a solid 30 to 60 minutes of my like week breaking down freaking boxes, man, to shove them in my like recycle bin like it's a Jenga thing. And it's like, what is going on? I just hire this out. Like, can someone just do this for me? Can you stop sending me all these boxes, Danielle? Can you stop ordering all these dang boxes? Like, there's so many things that can just bring up these emotions in us. And so here, let me share, I'll label some of them for you right now that are listening. Okay. So if you are a dad like me on a regular basis, this is probably what you feel. You probably feel on a regular basis, you feel disappointed, unappreciated, taken advantage of, unheard, powerless. You feel scared. You feel unknown. You feel hopeless. You feel worried. You feel unseen. You feel disrespected. You feel sad. You feel like invisible. You might feel unimportant. That is like everyday parenting. That's everyday family life right there. That comes with the job. That comes with the job. Like you shouldn't have kids if you weren't ready to like experience those emotions on a regular basis. So one of the things that comes up for me when you ask me about anger is here's what one thing that I think of is you on your podcast, you probably have a lot of great guests that share a lot of great tips or whatever about anger management or about family life or business, all that good stuff. Here's something I've been thinking about recently is like, what do we do in those moments? Because in that moment, we have an option. We have a choice. We can either choose like a negative or dark path, John, which would be like the path of impatience, the path of hopelessness. What is anger? Well, anger is good, by the way. We all need it. It's an amazing thing. I just did a podcast on it, actually. But it's our reactions. It's like the negative behaviors, the snapping, the snarky comments, the passive aggression, the workaholism, the abusing alcohol, the yelling. What we do when we do those things, I think what's happened is that we've become impatient with our anger. We've become hopeless. Hopeless means like no one's coming for me. I'm all alone. No one really cares about me and my feelings and what's important to me. And I don't like this. I don't like feeling alone. I'm hopeless. I need to do something about this. I just not going to go down with the pirate ship. I need to speak up. I need to either run away and hide, or I need to yell. I need to get angry because I can't sit with this emotion. Or we can go this path. Oh my gosh, I feel horrible right now. I feel taken advantage of. I feel worthless. I feel hopeless. I feel unheard. I feel powerless in my own freaking home. But you know what? Have hope. You're going to get through this. Be patient with these feelings. Be patient. You're not alone. These people love you. They care about you. You're not alone in this. You have other friends and people in your life who care about you. So be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Just hang in there. You will get through this. So that's something that comes up for me when you ask me about anger. I hope that
what do you think about channeling that energy into something like is part of your practice, is part of what you share with people, like it's okay to go outside and just beat the hell out of a punching bag in the garage? Is it go to the gym? Is it channel the anger
I think
to get it out
amazing,
of your body,
man? Well, I think that's like a manifestation of being patient with our anger. Like people, you often talk about how to, self-care, diffusing yourself, anger management. Those are all good terms. I'm just throwing a new term, like a new way of looking at it.
Yes,
these are
exactly.
all ways of like holding your own feelings and even letting people hold your feelings. Like,
yes.
And if you want to let a punching bag hold your feelings, let a let a great motorcycle ride with buddies, or a great surf session, or just a great walk with your dog, or those are all just ways of just being sitting with the pain of everyday parenting life and family life, and knowing like this, you've got to be active with this, be present with your feelings, but no, you're gonna get through
Mm.
this, right? And
Dude, I
that's a
love this
fact. Yeah.
idea of letting your surfboard hold the feelings with
Yeah.
you. Like let the punching bag hold the feelings with you.
Yeah,
Like
man.
that's a really cool way of looking at it. I've never seen it that way, but that is a companion to it. Let the weights, let the whatever it is that you do be that companion for you in that moment.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
that's what, like, when we think of anger, most of us think of like we're acting out in our anger, and we do that because we feel alone, we feel unheard, we feel powerless. I mean, the reason why people yell is because they don't feel heard. And so, like, think of it this way, like parenting, especially family life, it's never about like what it's about. It's not about the
Yeah.
wet towel on the ground or the fact that your kid hasn't cleaned
Yeah.
the cat box. It's not
Yeah.
about that your kids like maybe not coming to dinner on time because they're playing the new season of Fortnite. Like, look deeper under the surface. Like, what's happening inside of you? What's happening inside of them? And
Are
speak
you
to the
telling us what
heart
happened
of
in
the
your house
issue.
last week, Sean?
Yeah, man. I know what happens. This sounds very common, right? If that happens to any of you, you're not alone, right? Those things do happen to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, it's I also have heard you talk about the power of like temporary. You're like, you have a great video out of like the laundry. Hey, there's going to be a day when you don't have a lot of people to do laundry for.
Yeah,
The
man.
yelling, there's going to be a day
Yeah.
when you probably wish somebody would yell in your house because it's so damn quiet.
Yeah,
All of the
man.
things like
Yeah.
the
Let me,
problems, even just having a problem to solve. You might like one day you're like, I don't have any, children in my world right now. They've all moved out. They all live somewhere else. There's going to be a moment when all of that
yeah.
noise, you know, you kind of miss it a little bit, I'm guessing, and that it's all like you said in the video, it's all temporary.
So
So if there's ever
temporary.
anything that's just got you down, like it's likely not going to last forever.
So
No
well
season
said,
does.
John. I think one of the most helpful things that like guys like you and I can do to help people is let people into our minds. And so let me ask you a question. I'll kind of go first so you have a chance to think about it. What are the things you say to yourself, John, like when you're in that place, man, and your kids are not sending you the screenshots, right? They're not cleaning up the
Mm.
dog poop. They're not emptying the dishwasher. You know, it's like you just feel that disrespect, you feel that powerlessness. What do you say to yourself in those moments? What you just did right there is you let everyone in a little sample of some of the things I say to myself. So yeah, some of the things I say to myself are like, hey, you know what? This is not going to last forever. Like you're only going to have these kids in your house for a little bit of time. I don't know if that works for anyone else in the world. I just know one man it does work for. I also say to myself is, Sean, how can you show up with love right now? How can you show up with love? Like, if you think about it though, like in some homes, like it's never about what's about. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's not about this. What it might be about is it might be about gentleness. Like let's say you got a bunch of sons and they're hitting each other and they're going crazy, but they're good kids. If you just add more gentleness into your family's like culture, like how much that would change everything. For some people, it's about family meetings. Like you just add that element into your home culture, this vibe of coming together as a family to solve problems, to create that, like it would solve so many things. For some families, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's about patience. Your family sucks at patience, and you suck at patience, and you suck at teaching patience. And parents are teachers, and every home's a school. So you, as the head teacher, you suck at teaching patience. So now you have students who suck at patience. But if you were just to lead and teach your home with having more patience, you realize how much that would change everything. Like sometimes we overcomplicate our family lives, and sometimes it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
So what do you think about? What are some of the things you say to yourself when you're in that moment, man?
I love all of what you just said, and I'm smiling as if anybody was
Okay.
watching. It's like I'm
Yeah.
smiling because I had this moment. It was like 2 days ago when my 14-year-old was at the car. He's getting the two younger ones, my son and his buddy, into the car, the two 9-year-olds. He's getting them in.
Okay.
We're running late for dinner. I'm talking to my buddy, and he said something in the tone that was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like it was this like, let's go. And he said it
Okay.
exactly like
Yeah.
I say it. And I was like, that's a little abrupt.
Just like you say it. Oh, yeah,
just like I say it.
Just like
I was
you
like,
say
that
it.
sounds
Yeah.
like me.
So
And that
classic.
sounds a little abrupt.
So classic. Yeah.
So that was, and I know I've had people tell me that for years. Like, and I've thought that in different situations in my life, like where my son was talking to my wife, and I was like, don't talk to your mother like you hear me talk to your mother. Like,
yeah, right. Yes.
So
yes. Yeah.
that's what he's doing. He's talking the same way that I do. And I somehow think I've earned the right to do that as a grown man who's married. But the truth is I'm a terrible example at times. In other ways, I'm a great example. I want to give myself credit where credit's due. But here's the answer to your question.
Yes.
One, when I feel myself going off the rails, one is I will at times catch myself and say, can I just bring humor to this?
Okay.
And I do. I win doing that. Like I'll find myself getting triggered with Tatiana or the boys. I'll bring a little humor. I'll totally diffuse it. I'll laugh. They'll laugh. We just move on.
Love it.
Second is catching them doing the right thing. If I'm angry, it's like I'm only figuring out where they're failing. And in those moments, I'll go, John, find 2 things right now they're doing right. And I resist it. I'm like, no, hold on. I'm not ready to be lovey-dovey, all complimentary. I need to like lay the law down. But when I do catch myself and do it, it works. Another one is apologizing. Hey guys, I'm sorry. And this is also part of like it's part of like whether it's apologize or reveal, I will tell them. I'm like, guys, I'm tired. I'm triggered. I know I'm not at my best. I'm going to ask for your patience with me and give me space. I'm going to go take a moment. I need 10 minutes to myself. Please no knocking on the door. I promise when I come out, I'm a better human. I just need to go regulate my own emotions. So give me a minute and I'll be back. And when I just tell them, honestly, I'm not okay. If you talk to me, I'm going to probably lose it. Meaning I'm going to like say something or say it in a way I'm not happy with. This is just a warning. I need help. I'm going to go help myself.
Love it, dude. Great. Thank you for sharing that.
That's
very helpful and very wonderful. Yeah. Like, I do a lot of research around like just parenting psychology and family dynamics, and the Gottman Institute has recently come out with a term that's new for many people. It's been around for a while. The term is, it's called emotion coaching. And so they've given these different ways of understanding your parenting style. There's kind of 4 styles: disapproving parent, dismissing parent, laissez-faire parent. And then really what they're encouraging us all to do is to really step into and get the tools we need to really thrive as our child's emotion coach parent. Emotion coach parent. And so what you kind of just did there is you gave us, everyone's listening, like a great example of some emotion coaching. So you're actually, coaching your children, you're teaching them, but even what you just said, even how you kind of took that last time out there of how you did it, right? Because with kids, more is caught than taught. So one of the best ways to teach them these high level EQ things is by modeling in your home. So I just want to just hype you and say that's kind of like just, one of the, amazing thing you did there, right there.
Thank you, man. I've seen you do that too. And it's so helpful when you're like, instead of saying this to your kids, try saying this. I've heard you do that. And what's so great, man, is I see this in our community all the time. I bet you see it in yours. I watch you do something and I immediately have those words the next time it comes up, and I'll just use your words.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm like, those words work. I'm going to make them my own. It's awesome.
That's actually
themselves are critical.
Yeah, I think let me tell you a story on that, and then I'd love to get your thoughts. Okay, so I think you'd relate. Yeah, so on a side note, that is kind of like what I actually do for a living. That's like one of the main things I do. I do a lot of role playing, either on video for my social media followers or whatever, but also like in the actually thing what I do, right, working with parents, because that's like what we're hungry for. And this is just my opinion, John. I'd love to get your thought. Is like I really think really highly of parents in 2023. Like if you're listening to this right now, I just gotta tell you, like, I'm a fan of yours. Like you rock. Like this is so great. Like what we have here is that many parents, men and women, and men, we have a growth mindset towards parenting. We look at parenting and we say, you know what? I don't have it all figured out. I want to grow. I want to learn. I know that I don't necessarily want to be exactly like my dad, or if you had a great dad, you say, I want to be better than my dad. I want to be more closely connected. I want to be a better teacher. I want to be a better mentor. And we have this culture now, which we didn't have so much when I first started this a decade ago, of people like saying, I want to learn, I want to grow. And it's really amazing. So like what's happening like with us, especially the dads, we're actually changing the world right now, and no one's really talking about it. We're changing the world by how we are fathering these kids, because many of us had to go through some hard work. You had to, I had to kind of unlearn some stuff and to get healed, and we had to figure out through books or mentors about these things. But our kids, they're going to go through their own trials, their own tribulations, but they're going to have something that many of us didn't have, which is this emotionally safe, emotionally connected, imperfect parent who is trying to coach them through the arts of emotional regulation, anger management, healthy relationship with screens, how to build trust, how to repair trust, how to keep trust, what it is, why it's imperative, what's the purpose of chores, why we have chores, why screens are so dangerous, why we have them, how to manage them. Like walk them through these challenges of life and drugs and pornography and Norco and alcohol and girls and all this stuff. It's just a super just beautiful thing that's happening behind closed doors all around the world. And like, I just am so excited to be a part of that.
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. I'm so glad you said it. There's no doubt there's a massive amount of progress. And I think part of it is because we've created enough, we've built a system that allows us to create the space in our lives so that we can deal with these. I don't know how you would want to phrase it, a higher level problem, maybe a deeper problem of like our emotions, because we have access to food. We can have things delivered by Amazon. We have some luxuries that allow us to not spend 8 to 10 hours a day hunting for our food, sourcing our water, building a shelter so that we don't die from the elements. And now that we have a system that allows us to evolve and talk about some of these emotional issues, I think we are. And I think it's amazing. And I'm so grateful for all the people that have laid the groundwork before us, that have done the heavy lifting, that allowed me to live in a generation where I've got time on a Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
This is my job, Sean. This is your job. It's crazy.
It's my job
this is
too.
our work.
Like
it's crazy. This is our work.
Let me I want to pick a little fight with you, because I want to agree with everything you said right there.
Perfect.
And I want to disagree. All right. So I agree with everything. Like we have resources.
Well, not everything, but some of it.
We have resources. We have YouTube videos. We have John. We have books out there. We have a growth mindset to learn new tools. And this is all really like accessible, and it's now more culturally normal for men to, share feelings and to share imperfections and to connect. That's all good. But here's the part where I disagree. Okay. And maybe I don't, maybe I'm just being weird and dramatic. So, okay. I wasn't, so my name is Sean Donohue. So I don't know what my relatives were like in Ireland a couple hundred years ago, or 300 years ago, or 500 years ago. I don't know how they were living. I can only imagine that they would live in these little huts, and they would maybe come together every night or a regular basis and around this big like bonfire, and they would sing songs and they would laugh and they would raise their families together, right? So you had not only families here, but then you have uncles, aunts, you have godparents, you have second uncles, third cousins. It's like the whole Donohue clan is like together, just communal living. That's probably what happened for a very, very, very long time in every country, whether it be India or Native Americans or in Africa. That's probably what's going on. It's still happening to this day in many countries. Now, imagine you're a 9-year-old, and someone comes up to you. We'll just say an uncle, and the uncle says to you, "Hey, how's it going? How's school? Love to check in. How's your life? How you feeling? I think that's probably would have happened quite a bit, right? It's like
Mm.
normal. We're just checking in. How are you? How's it going? Oh, you're sad. How are you? What's going? Why are you sad? Right? Because you're just living together. And I don't
Mm.
think that child at age 9 would have looked at their uncle or their cousin or their parent and be like, what? What do you mean? Leave me alone? Like drama much? Like, what are you talking to me about? Can you just leave me alone? I don't think that's what they would have done. I don't think they would have turned away and listened to music or play Fortnite. Like, what they would have done is just connected and they
Yeah.
would have talked. So here is my opinion on history. What we're doing right now is extremely human. When I sit
Mm.
and I hold my kids, or if I apologize to my kids, or if I share my feelings with my kids, that's not new. This isn't some weird new thing coming out of California. This is not some brand new things. This is what it means to be freaking human, to
Yeah.
put the screens away and to
Yeah.
break bread and to share life and to have grandma and grandpa come over and just celebrate and just be joyful and to pet the family dog and to go for a hike and to go camping and to just laugh together and cry together and just be together.
Hmm.
This is what it means to be human. And we need more of that. We need more of that in
Yeah.
2023 and less of all the stupid stuff that we have, man. What
Yeah.
do you think about
I
that?
love that. I'm so glad you said it. I'm so glad you said it in that way. And truly, Sean, that's the spirit of this community. Is like
Yeah.
I talk about it constantly at our events. Is I don't want a bunch of yes guys that every time somebody says something, the rest of the group goes, "Yeah, man." I
Yeah.
want people to have what are built into our ethos is yes and, which is yes, I hear you. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing. Not yes, I agree with you. Yes, I hear you. And here's my take on this. That's how we get these different perspectives. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so fun when we don't have to we don't have to prove somebody else wrong to add our point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we
Yeah.
can go, yeah, I've got a different angle on that. I've got,
Yeah.
and we
Yes.
can use whatever language we want, but ultimately
Right.
you're adding to the conversation a different way of
Yeah.
looking at it.
And
Here's
just
what's
to advocate,
fascinating. Yeah,
for our children, I want that for our kids too. I want that for your kids that are listening. I want you to not only have that, but I want you to have an open mind with your kids. I want you to have a loving, gentle demeanor. I want you to be a safe place for your kids
totally.
because you and everyone listening to this, you are their person. You are their person. And I don't want to see you lose that. You're the one person in the life. They're one person who's going to be flexible with them, who's going to be loving, who's going to be forgiving, who's going to hold their anger, is not going to shame it or push it away or dismiss it or disprove, who's going to be their person. And so, yes, let your kids talk to you, let them challenge you, let them be imperfect around you, and you stand up with love and presence and be the adult in the relationship and watch good things happen. I just say that to advocate for all children everywhere and for you to push all the dads listening to this who I respect so much.
Mm. I love that, Sean. That's really cool, man. I'm by the way, I'm writing notes down. If you see me look down, if you're watching this video, I'm writing things down that I think are really important. This safety piece is important. Something that just came up as you said it that I want to say to all the guys, like,
Yeah.
And this will actually tie back to another point I wanted to make. There's a good chance there's a number of guys listening that just heard what you said and they're like, I have screwed that up so bad. I don't know if I can come back from it. I have not created emotional safety and stability. I have not created an environment. And what I've seen, Sean, in addition to the guys that are just killing it in life and making changes and growth oriented, I've seen a number of men give up. They're like, yeah, at this
Yeah.
point,
So
I've the damage is
too much.
done. At this
Hopeless. I'm
point,
hopeless.
yeah, I'm hopeful. I've kind of,
Yeah.
I am who I am.
Yeah.
I've been through, like, I'm not, what am I going to change now?
Yeah.
It's too late. I've already read the book that their personalities are formed by 7. I screwed it up.
No.
You know what I mean? I've
No
already
way.
read the book that if you don't do it right by
Yeah.
12,
Yeah.
that the story's been written.
There's no, I don't know what you're talking. There's no book out there like that. I don't believe in that book, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the truth is I'm 48 years old. My dad's in his 70s, and he still can be massively influential for me. I've said that 1,000 times on the show.
True,
like
so
you can have a massive impact at any point.
Let's both do that. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's one of the hardships and hard parts of having a growth mindset towards family life, because it just brings up, areas for us to grow, areas for us to, work on, to step into. And that hopelessness, we've mentioned that word a few times now, can really creep in. It's a very powerful emotion. It's very dangerous. So let's both do that. So here's, I'll go first, and then you tell us, like, what advice do you have for that dad who's struggling, with hopelessness? The first thing I would say is just to label it and to realize, like, we all feel hopeless at times, and it's a part of life. It's a part of life. Just like feeling disrespected and feeling scared and alone is a part of life. So it's what we do with that hopelessness, that really matters. You don't have to live in that hopelessness. You don't have to medicate it away. You can just accept that you're struggling with this powerful feeling, and you're not alone in that. Another thing, I can go on and on this, would be to speak hope to yourself. The most powerful voice in our life is our own voice. And so there's so much hope out there. There's so much good things. And I hope that me even sharing this with you, brings you hope. And the third thing I can say, as somebody who's been working with your families for 25 years, is, oh my gosh, hope is real. And there's a special sacred bond between a father and his children. And I've seen and have been a part of some of the most horrible, painful things. And so if you want to start building a home of emotional safety, of connection, of love, of compassion, of patience, start today. And you are such a powerful person, because you are the dad, and you are such a great teacher. And so just one day at a time, and just have hope. What do you think? What comes up for you, John, when you think, how do we speak to the dad who's struggling with hopelessness, man?
Dude, I'm gonna flip the script on you, and I'm gonna say, all right, I'm gonna pick a fight with you, Sean.
Okay. Love it.
I'm gonna agree, but I'm gonna disagree on something. No, I'm saying that playfully. But here's what I'm gonna add to this: another way of looking at hope, which was actually told to me in a moment where I was using hope as a way to not do the thing. Like, if a dad's checking out, they're like, I hope they're going to be okay. Or I hope that they'll come to me one time. And I had a coach challenge me on this, because I'm a very, very hopeful person. I wrote a book called The Front Row Factor, which was all about the people that we serve through the Front Row Foundation for 17 years. And hope was one of the 3 strategies. I used to talk about how hope brings the power of the future into the present moment. I talked about people that were literally facing life-threatening illnesses, and having an event they were looking forward to gave them, I remember one young man who was going to go, we sent him to the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand, and he was like, I'm going to stand for the national anthem. I'm going to stand. And he worked in physical therapy, and that hope for that day, the hope for the future, brought him power to the present moment.
Yeah.
But so I was adamant on hope, and my coach said, John, I think that hope, you need to give up hope. I was like, what do you mean give up hope? And she goes, I think what you're doing is you're so hopeful. You're hopeful they're going to change. You're hopeful something's going to evolve. You're hopeful that time will heal all wounds. You're hopeful that all these things. And what you're missing is your boundaries. You're missing your clear, decisive actions. You're missing saying to another person, this is not okay. This is what you're hoping they get it. You're hoping they read your body language. And what you need to do is ask for what you want. Hope is the thing that's crushing you.
I like it. I like it.
So it's like, but like everything, there's on the opposite side of a truth is another truth. And it's always multi-layered. There's always many angles. There's always many perspectives. Anything that's an asset to you is likely a liability. Anything that's a strength is likely a weakness.
Yeah.
And I think that when we play the game of like, let's look at the opposite of that. How can this thing that I lean on constantly, that's my go-to tool, how might it be hurting me? And in some cases, that might be what's happening with that guy. But I will also say, in a situation like that, what I want to know is, where's the trauma? In a situation like that, I want to know there's something that happened in that person's life, and I'm on a mission to go back and figure out what it is. At what point in that person's childhood did they make an agreement that this was going to be their approach? Because they're just playing out a blueprint. If they're disengaging, they're playing out a blueprint. I want to know, where was that blueprint built?
Yeah, man.
And then if I can go back and heal that, I've said many times also that it's like trying to get somebody to go on the dance floor. We're like enticing them with the hope they'll be a better dancer. But the challenge is they got a broken leg. And until we mend the leg, it doesn't matter how much hope we give them.
Right. You got to go to the source of the issue.
You got to heal the trauma. So I think all of it's true. I was joking earlier, but
no, I knew, man. I was too. Yeah.
Yeah. Your point is perfect.
Well, you're what, just saying, like, what came up for me when you said that story was very articulate, is I think what we do sometimes is that we rationalize our avoidance.
Yes.
We rationalize our fear and our lacking of stepping into bravery and stepping into courage and stepping into leadership, stepping into hard things. We rationalize our avoidance with hope. We say, I'm just being hopeful, or I'm full of hope. It's like this optimism, this smile where you sit on the sidelines and you're really not stepping in to the role that you need to be stepping into, and you rationalize it. That's one of the things that came up. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Did I do
100%?
Did I do you a solid there with that recap? Yeah.
100%, man. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, it's fun to be in a community, going back to the power of a brotherhood, when we get to have these honest conversations. And, you're demonstrating, Sean, the beauty of a relationship amongst two men, where it's like, you're asking me questions, I'm asking you questions. We're throwing out different perspectives, different way of looking at things. And ultimately what we're doing is we're trying to figure out how to serve these kids, how to serve ourselves, how to serve our partners, how to live lives that we're proud of. But the one thing, and tell me if you agree with this, if there's one thing that we've got to get right, it's engagement. Do you think it's leaning in? Do you think it's taking the action? Because I feel like, to me, that's the lead domino. Okay. If you don't go in and make the mistake, you don't know what to fix. If you don't go in and do the thing that's great, you won't get you're not. Yeah. You got to engage. That's the biggest thing. Would you agree with that?
Well, we might be, clearly we're very both precise with our word choices.
Yeah.
And I'm very precise when it comes to like these topics. So I would pick a different word. And that's like, sometimes people ask me, all the time, if there's one thing that you would want parents to know, or if there's one thing that you want us to really work on or thrive, what is there one thing? And I would say, oh, there definitely is one thing. I have a different word from you, but you might like my word, or we might relate with it, or might actually realize we're saying the same thing. I don't know. I don't think it's the same word, but I love your word, by the way.
Yeah.
The word that I use is closeness.
Yeah.
Closeness.
I've heard you talk about that.
Closeness. And here's the short version of why. Like, the reason why we had a family is for closeness, is to go through life with people, to experience this human experience of, fatherhood, mentoring. It's like, we didn't just have kids to produce robots who go off to college or start a business or do well in sports. It's about experience. And as parents, we kind of want two things. We want obedience, cooperation, grit, good choices. We want good choices, right? That's generally speaking, that's one we want, right? Behavement, good behavior. But then what we also want is closeness. I hope you all want those two things. I know you do. We want to be able to like share in their personal life and be there and cheering them on, and they hug us after the game, and they let us take pictures at prom, and we drop them off at the dorms, and there's hugs and there's tears and there's pictures, and we're sharing life together. But what I found after 25 years of research and doing this is that if you prioritize closeness, then you can, not only will you hopefully have closeness, because it takes two to tango, but then you will also get obedience, cooperation, good choices. Now, this is like a proverb, right? But so yeah, that's the word that I nerd out on. Is some people call it connection. It's all attachment, attachment, psychology. But I love that word, man.
Dude, you're describing the name of the company.
What do you
Front
mean?
Row Dads. Like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
what it's
yeah,
about. This is about getting close. When I
yeah,
talk about, when people
yeah,
ask me why Front Row Dads, I say
yeah,
Front Row is about
yeah.
getting close to the people, places, thoughts, and things that make you come
Mhm,
alive. That's what a front row experience is. I remember,
mhm.
lots of people have said it in different ways, but I've heard
Yeah,
like Tony Robbins talk about proximity is power.
yeah,
And when we yeah, and it's similar. It's in the same vein of engagement. Engagement is leaning in. Engagement is getting close to something so that you
yeah,
can be affected by it and you can affect that thing,
yeah,
whatever that is. But
yeah,
that's the benefit of a relationship. We
yeah,
want to move to the cities we feel most alive with. We want to, do all the things, make all the decisions to get us close to the things that make us feel alive. And in
yes.
turn, we can help them feel alive. That's it. It's an attraction
It
is what it
is.
is. It's
Yeah,
sitting,
well
like you said,
said.
it's sitting around the campfire. It doesn't
Yeah,
work if you're 30 feet back from the campfire.
it's right there. And your
Circle doesn't
kids,
work.
and the good news is that our kids want to be close with us. They
Yeah.
do. Even during the teen years, they do. It's a little salty, a little harder during some of these seasons, but this is like what it means to be human, is being engaged and close. There we go. How about that?
Yeah.
I used both of our words.
There you go. Sean, I got to check in with you. I totally lost track of time. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing
Um,
fine. I'm doing
okay.
fine. Yep.
Let me ask you one question. This is a lot of fun, man. Thank you for this
Yeah.
conversation. I've enjoyed
Yeah.
this a lot. Um, what do you think about pushing teens? Talk about closeness.
Right.
And what I mean by that is maybe speak to, I'm not sure of the right prompt with this, but parents that are afraid to like confront their kids, parents that
Oh
are
gosh.
afraid
So
to,
common. Oh my
right? To afraid
goodness.
to lead,
So
afraid to get
common.
into an argument.
So common. We got a generation. We are not a perfect parenting generation. We are a generation full of fear. And we were already afraid of our kids getting kidnapped or all these other things that we're so afraid. And now many of us, not everybody, is afraid of pushing their kid, of challenging them, of stepping in and to challenge them with grit or to push them. And it's tough, and this is a little side note. One of the ways to thrive as a parent is you've got to parent the child you have, not the child you want. That's a little proverb you can use. Very important. Parent the child you have, not the child you want. So just because you are really into pushing yourself, it doesn't mean your 17-year-old, your 10-year-old is really into you pushing them or wants to be pushed. But I think that here's a short little story that I hope will answer your question. Okay, here's a little story. John, if someone were knocking on my door right now and say, hey, this is my religion and I want you to change it. I want my religion to become your religion. I would like to come into your house and I would like you to hear me out. Are you with me?
Yeah.
I'm not letting that person in my house, man. I'm not having that. I'm not into that. I'm not into your religion. I'm good with mine. And they're just a stranger to me. I'm not down. You can relate me. Does that sound
Of
weird to
course.
me? Or does that
I,
sound pretty
I
logical?
understand it very much. Yeah.
Right. But if one of my best friends, Josh, Charlie, my cousin Josh, one of my old friends from high school who I love, one of my best buddies that I'm connected with now, say, hey, Sean, I got something in my life that I'm into, and you might really be into it, and I kind of want you to be into it. I was hoping we could talk to you about it. I'd be like, let's go, man. Let me put some ribs on the Barbie. Come on over to my house. I want to hear this out. I'm open-minded to hearing. So why? You tell me, why, John, would we be open-minded to hearing our close people in our inner circle, why would we be open to hearing them?
Trust.
Yeah. So much
To
trust.
me, it's trust.
So much trust. So much
Yeah, and
connection.
also a
So
dedication.
much
There's also a
loyalty,
Even
memories,
yeah,
right? It's and so in our efforts to push our kids, to bring out the best of them, to parent them, to maximize our influence on them, we've got to build a foundation of connection and trust. We've got to realize that, like, this might be a hard pill for some of us to believe in and swallow, but your kids don't really care what you know until they know that you care. So if you're not really spending that time in their world, enjoying them in things that they enjoy doing, being that front row, just being enjoyable to talk with. They enjoy talking with you, just laughing with you in their world. Well, then when you kind of try to push them in whatever good thing you want to push them in, if you have that connection, your chances of influencing them are going to go way up. And if you don't spend the time to build that trust, that emotional safety, be in that front row, that kindness, that grace, that time that puts in to just enjoy them in their world, well, then when you knock on the door of their life and say, hey, I'd like to influence you, I'd like to guide you, the door may not be open very, very much.
yeah.
And so it's an inspirational story of the power of connection and intention. And that is the foundation of mentoring children.
Yeah, this connect then correct type of idea feels good to me. I've had some great conversations with Tiger. Again, I smile a lot when you tell these stories because I'm just reflecting on my own journey and there's so many things I've messed up, but I've had a couple of big victories. And one of them, Sean, I won't give you the whole story, but I'll give you the basic of it is like, I pulled Tiger aside maybe how long ago is it now? I don't know, 6 months, 8 months ago or something like that. And I was like, dude, I want to have a talk with you that most dads will never have with their kids. Okay. And I just said, let's talk about stuff, man. And I called it in. I said, I asked him questions. I go, I'm going to ask you questions most dads will never have the courage to ask their 13-year-old. And I go, and I want you to know, not trying to make you uncomfortable, but you'll probably be uncomfortable because the truth is I'm a little uncomfortable asking you. But the thing I'm committed to is a legendary relationship with you. And I'm willing to get uncomfortable to have that. I don't think we're going to have legendary father-son relationship hanging in the realm of comfort. We gotta both get a little uncomfortable. Yeah, man. So, and we're going to have to try some things on and see how it feels, to evolve our relationship.
It might be too personal for me to say this because I just met you an hour ago. But can I say something kind of touchy, go. That if you and I had those talks with our dads growing up, right, if our dad were to parent us with that, then it probably wouldn't be as uncomfortable for us now.
Right.
That with her. Did I cross the line there?
Yes. No, totally. No, of course. Yeah. It's gonna be very hard for you to cross the line with me, Sean.
All right, man. All right.
Dude, I got
Can I say, I'll say one more beautiful thing just to hype up what you just said. Okay.
Yeah, try to cross the line right now. See if you could do it before the show ends.
If you think the chances of your 10-year-old, of your 12-year-old, of your 17-year-old coming up to you and be like, hey, Dad, I really need some advice. Tell me everything you need, everything I need to know about oral sex. Go. The chances of your son coming up to you being like, or, hey, so I got this big boner when I was dancing the middle school dance. What do I do with this thing? The chances of your daughter being like, hey, so Dad, I was dancing in middle school dance and this kid had like a roll of pennies and I'm just like making myself laugh right now. Like it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what you modeled here, John, is just another manifestation of just beautiful emotion coaching where you're instigating some of these harder conversations. Because if we don't bring them up, then they won't be talked about. And now it's kind of be a little scary here, a little dark. But if we don't speak wisdom into our kids in these areas, because we have something that they do not have, and that is wisdom. If we don't speak wisdom into our kids, well then, John, where are they going to learn it?
Yeah, exactly.
They're either
Dude.
going to not learn wisdom, or they're going to
Yeah.
learn it from the world's most powerful device I'm holding in my
Yes.
hand right now.
Yeah.
It's more powerful than any gun or any bomb, because it has the ability to change one's mind. And there is very little wisdom on this stupid little rectangle that I'm holding in my hand right now. There's some good
Yeah.
stuff in here, though. I'd like to make wise stuff. This is a wise conversation, John. But this is the power of the parent, man, is we are teachers of wisdom and love and connection and intention.
Yeah. It's a great way to end right there, Sean. I'm going to wrap with that. I'm not going to go anywhere else. But I am going to say this, guys, for anybody that's listening, that's in our community, that is a front row dad, part of our, you get access to these weekly calls that we're doing. And in 2024, we're doing these deep dive calls under each pillar. And when we get to parenting, I've been talking to Sean about having him come in and do a live Q&A session with our guys. So that's our intention. Sean and I are working to get that date on the calendar. And like Sean, many other experts in the parenting space will be bringing in and giving you guys direct access to that. I also want to say, as a thanks to Sean for being here, and to all the guys listening, those in our community and not in our community. Maybe you found the show for the first time today. You knew Sean's name and that's why you're listening. Whatever it might be, Sean has an amazing community as well. He's got amazing content and information and coaches and all the things. And I want you to go check out his work. Sean Donohue is the name, and the website again, parentingmodernteens.com. We'll link to all that in the show notes at frontrowdads.com. Sean, thank you so much for being here, man. I enjoyed this.
That was very deep, wonderful conversation, John. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
It was fun. That was fun, real.
And I really want to, I mean, I know I joked about it a little bit, but it's like, dude, I want men in my life that are going to be like, let me see if I can play the other side of that, or let me see if I can add something to that, or I don't agree with this. I love that, man. And I want more of that type of dialogue with you, where we get to share stories and share philosophies and our real experiences, not only from our lives, but the lives of the men and the people that we're serving. You're doing great work, Sean. I'm just such a fan. Appreciate this conversation today. And I know it was really helpful for me. I know it'll be great for our guys.
I started following you on Instagram many years ago, and it's just be an honor to now be on your show. So thank you so much, John. Keep up the good work yourself.
Yeah, brother. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon, guys. And also, depending on when this show drops, it might drop in time. Front Row Dad Live, 100 men flying in from all over, gathering in Austin, Texas, December 6th through the 8th. If you guys want to get together in person, review your 2023 and set up your 2024. You want to talk about parenting, marriage, want to talk about business and wealth creation, and also your overall health as a man, emotional and physical health. 3 days in Austin with 100 men. We've got great speakers. Hal Elrod, who wrote The Miracle Morning, is speaking. Brian Johnson, whose new book, Arete, he's going to be speaking. Ryan Levesque of the Ask Method will be speaking on business. We have a gentleman who's an expert on AI, talking about how to use AI to be a better parent and a better husband, which is going to be fascinating, to use that as a tool. So many things, guys. We'll see you there. And Sean, thanks again, man. Much love to you and to your family.